Hey everyone, my name is Rob Vai and I'm the owner and director of S2S Sports Australia. Today I'll be sharing with you what I've learned coaching female footy. So I've been coaching in the female space for quite some time, and I've started S2S as a means to provide the steps to success to basically address the lack of development opportunities for the female rugby league players out there. And we've built this up to today, S2S being the most trusted program in New South Wales for female rugby league players. So before I get into it, just want to share a little bit about me. I've been working in secondary schools for over a decade. I'm a qualified PDHB teacher. I'm a level 1 strength and conditioning coach. I've been fortunate enough to coach at the Hill Sports High School, Tonga, New South Wales for both league and union in the girls space, in the Parramatta Eels female development system, and now part of the Mounties Harvey Norman women's squad. I've been fortunate enough to train players who have played in junior development all the way up into the NRLW. So coaching in the female space has taught me many lessons, and I'm looking forward to sharing these insights to those who already coach females or those who are interested in coaching the female space. So let's get into the first episode, episode 1. In episode 1, I'm going to be discussing the lack of skill development in the female rugby league space. Now, by coaching boys and girls, there is a complete difference between where the starting point is at for the boys and where the starting point is at for the girls. First thing I'm going to talk about is the connection girls have with rugby league. So we've found that over time, myself growing up and even the boys I see these days, they are quite obsessive with rugby league. The boys, they play it and they watch it, they live it, they breathe it, they eat it, they sleep it. You know, they can rattle you stats off of stats just from the NRL, just by watching it. The girls, from a lot what I have seen, are often fans of the game, but the depth of immersion they've given themselves to the game of rugby league is nowhere near the boys. For example, I had run a clinic where I had 30 girls in the room, and I was going through a PowerPoint slideshow, and I got to a photo of a very well-known player in the NRLW. She's known for her toughness, she's known for her absolute brute force. I won't name this player, but what I will say is this. The slideshow of her came up and I said, raise your hand if you know this player. Not one player raised their hand, and they looked quite confused. Now, I'm not going to name that player, but it actually highlighted where we're at. But 2024 has shown us a dramatic increase in viewership, and a lot of things have changed. Currently where it's at, not as many girls watch rugby league, and I hope in the future that this improves, but this was one area that I quickly picked up on. Okay, another area on skill development is the fact that most girls I've coached start later in the game than boys do. As we know, boys will start from the age of 6, 7, 8, and even if they don't, they'll most likely get exposure to sports like league tag, touch, OzTag, 7s, 15s aside rugby union, and their experience in this sport, as well as family gatherings, going down to the park with friends, playing in PDHB lessons, which I see a lot of the time. It's mostly boys, and I see this changing from the younger generations now. However, the current crop of, I'd say, 13 years all the way through to open women's, mostly I'm seeing 3 years or less of experience of actually playing. So in essence, teaching the right techniques, it's taught me a lot about how to maintain different teaching strategies for different types of players. However, it doesn't always necessarily mean that they're going to learn at a slower rate than the boys. It just means that some players are grasping it in different ways. Mona Lisa Soliola is a great example. She debuted in the NRLW only after 1 year of playing rugby league, which is incredible. So by seeing the raw talent and athleticism that she brought from other sports, athletics, netball, and other sports that she brought, shout out to Bill Soliola, who, you know, he raised Mona in a very big family where she would have had more exposure there too. When she came along to my programs, I was teaching the 12-year-olds and the younger girls all the different skills about passing and body shapes and effort and spacing and timing, and she was quite impressed, and she actually learned a few things herself that she told me, and this just shows that she's going to continue on this trajectory even though she's had such little experience in the game. Now, on the other hand, we have a completely separate example in the name of Waiaria Ellis. She is one of the youngest and most brightest futures ahead of her in rugby league, rugby union, touch, tag, sevens, you name it. This young girl has been playing so many sports from a young age, including gymnastics, and her dad is actually a former NRL player. So we are talking about a young, talented female athlete who has been exposed to various sports and skills and different scenarios and contexts with an oval shaped ball. Now, put that into perspective, the fact that she has an former NRL player as a father who's been her coach as well. And shout out to Benny Ellis, he's a great coach, a great guy. We have had discussions around skill development and seeing that this foundation that was created for Waiaria has led to such a great trajectory into her professional career. Now she's currently in the rugby space and she's at the highest level at the moment. But what does that show? It shows that a player and someone talented like Waiaria, who's had the investment in foundations and laying the fundamentals, that's given her a greater opportunity, which is where I'm currently starting to see the changing trend, which is younger girls are now being exposed to primary school rugby league tackle, primary school rugby league touch and tag, and all female-based competitions that's happening more and more regularly, that is going to allow them to practice these skills and go upwards on that trajectory like Waiaria. So this has been something rewarding for me to see that the younger girls are quickly learning these development areas in our programs. That makes me quite excited for what their future is going to look like, because a lot of them are heading into the rep systems. The next one is training habits, and how not many girls I've coached will always have a footy in hand. So this is a discussion I had quite in depth with Ron Griffiths, and it was interesting to see his take as well. That was aligned with what I saw too. A lot of girls aren't carrying the footy around, and it's not as common. I would most likely see girls who rock up to training early want to just catch up and have a chat with their friends rather than start getting into extras and do extra skills training. So this is something I took a mental note of, and I began implementing skills extras, and those players who were super keen would get in there, they'd be doing the exercises and practice those different areas. Other girls, I know that if they were having a chat, I'd just say, here's a ball, pass and chat. Just getting them used to the fact that that ball is the most important thing on the field, and just getting used to the fact that just standing and passing is practice. So more practice is better. Next was the rep pathways in the female space and how still a lot of them lack fundamental skills. So a question I asked Ron Griffiths was that, what can the boys game, in terms of Haramats, SG Ball and the development pathways, what can they teach the girls space? So what can the girls space learn from the boys space? And basically he said skill development. Skill development was huge. And I totally agree, because I see that a lot of the players that I've coached in our programs who are, considered the higher level athletes, even though they are, because they're making the higher levels. When I looked up the statistics, it found that 2,000 errors were made between the Lisa Fiola and Tasha Gale competitions. 2,000 errors. Now I thought, wow, this is obviously a big area of concern, but by watching the games and watching the players that were involved from our programs, you can see the level of skill across the board. It varies heavily. So you might have some teams with really good skills, others that, are still trying to develop those areas: grip, pass, catch, carry, all those areas. What does it say to me? Well, it's something I've taken out of the semantics, the use of the specific words to ensure that we are getting across the correct meanings. And one of those words was the word basic. Anyone who knows me, I'm highly against the word basic, because I think if you're looking at foundational skill, fundamental skill, think of it as laying concrete. If you're building a house, any type of structure, any concreter will tell you it is not a basic skill. It's not super easy. And if we're coaching these female players, we have a great opportunity to lay this concrete, because they're a clean canvas. The girls haven't been overcoached. They want to learn and they're keen. So we're laying this foundation. And if we do it properly, we lay a strong foundation with their fundamental skill. The word is fundamental. It is not basic skill. If we get the fundamental skill right, we can progress and develop. So that's why it's super important. I really highly encourage nailing the fundamentals in a variety of contexts. Don't just do it once, do it many times across different scenarios. This many defenders, this type of pressure, this type of fatigue. And that's why a lot of our players have seen that that's the type of success they get out of proper practice, not just doing it for the sake of it. The next area is a very interesting one, balancing skills with conditioning and fitness. The idea of rugby league online on social media becoming a frenzy when it comes to buzzwords like the Bronco or your fitness testing or your 1RMs. All of this it's so important. I understand, because as a player, when I was at Penrith in the cup system on a trainer trial, I ran a 4:38 Bronco. And guess what? I lacked a lot of the skills because growing up, I didn't really understand the game at all, didn't have much IQ, much knowledge, but because I was super fit, I played fullback and had the best season of my life. Don't get me wrong, I completely value conditioning and fitness and players being physically prepared for a game. Now, what has this got to do with coaching females? But we can't get away from the fact that you need to be a skillful player to be a good player. So in essence, it has taught me the importance of integrating skill in different ways and making sure that their fitness is still a priority, yes, but making things like small-sided games, mimicking different situations and scenarios under fatigue, and making sure the fitness side of thing is still measured, but we can also get some good output in terms of the numbers of repetition and practice with their skill. It's something that as a PE teacher, like, I do value games and the process of learning and exposing them to different conditions. I just had to make sure that fitness wasn't going to be something that ruled and was the top of the hierarchy for the players. So the final thing I'm going to talk about is the diverse talent foundations for the female players. Girls come from various backgrounds. I have coached girls who have come straight from AFL, union, soccer, netball, cricket, dancing. All these different sports they come from, it has brought a lot of challenges for me as a coach, but it has been the most rewarding experiences coaching these players. Even though their foundations vary widely, this has a big influence on their skill development. For example, if I lined up 100 boys and 100 girls and they all did one tackle each, the boys would have a very close variation of how they did their tackles, whereas the girls, I can almost guarantee it will look like 100 different tackles. And that, for a critical eye as a coach, it has taught me the importance of not taking assumptions when going into looking at a tackle, looking at the variations of how they can learn. It's been something that's helped me expand my thinking on teaching and coaching skill development. An example would be a player from netball. Cutting and changing directions was really good for her. That translated to her line running, and I was able to coach her how to hit holes, both unders and overs, overs is a very hard skill to do compared to the unders line. I was able to pretty much teach her that quicker than players who didn't have that experience. So that was a difference that brought a strength to my coaching. So to finish off, the skill development for the females, it's still a very big area of growth. Just want to say thanks for listening to this episode. Next episode, I'll be talking about learning and how it's different for females versus males in the rugby league space. But thanks for your time and look forward to the next episode. Take care.